Okay, let's get right into it. A truly massive shift is happening at Apple, probably the biggest shakeup in more than a decade. We're talking about the start of a whole new era, and trust me, it's going to affect everything, from the very top of the company right down to the iPhone you're holding in your hand. So what's really going on?
And here it is, the bombshell, straight from Apple's own newsroom. After an absolutely historic run, Tim Cook is stepping aside as CEO. His replacement? John Ternus, who's been leading the hardware engineering team. Folks, this is a monumental change.
I mean, think about it. Tim Cook has been in charge for 15 years, an era of almost unbelievable growth for Apple. The official handover to John Ternus is happening on September 1st, 2026. This isn't just a new face in the big office. It really is the end of an era.
So, let's dig in a little deeper on the two people right at the center of this. What does this swap really mean for Apple's DNA and, more importantly, the products we're all going to see in the future?
You know, the difference between these two leaders is just night and day. Tim Cook is a certified operations genius. He mastered the global supply chain and drove profits into the stratosphere. John Ternus, though, he's a hardware guy through and through. The big phrase you hear whispered about him is that he's more like Steve Jobs. And what that really means is a relentless, maybe even obsessive focus on product design, which could signal a huge shift back to making a magical product the absolute #1 priority.
So how is any of this actually going to affect you? Well, the very first clues are probably going to show up on the device you use every single day, your iPhone. Let's talk about the next big software update. But hold on, before we get to the main event, a quick heads up. We're seeing a lot more analytics traffic for iOS 26.4.2. That's usually a dead giveaway that a minor update with bug fixes is right around the corner. So, keep an eye out for that any day now.
But the one everyone's really excited for is iOS 27. We'll get our first peek at WWDC in June. And that brings up the million-dollar question for so many of you. Is your current iPhone even going to get it?
Okay, so here's the headline. According to a pretty reliable new leak, iOS 27 is going to drop support for the entire iPhone 11 lineup. Yeah, that means the standard 11, the 11 Pro, and the 11 Pro Max. Now let's be super clear. These phones will still get security patches for a long time, so they'll be safe to use. But they won't get any of the cool new features in iOS 27. And that's a big deal, because that was a super popular phone.
So what are iPhone 11 users going to miss out on? Well, the leaks point to some really cool stuff. Siri's getting a whole new look built right into the dynamic island. That interactive little black bar at the top of the newer iPhones. We're also expecting some handy features like undo and redo buttons when you're moving your apps around. And there's even talk of a new liquid glass slider for transparency. This might be our first real look at that new design-first philosophy in action.
All right, so that's the software, but let's switch gears to hardware because this is where a CEO with an engineering background could really shake things up. What are the first products of the John Ternus era going to look like?
Naturally, all eyes are on the next flagship phone, the iPhone 18 Pro. And the rumors are pointing towards some slick refinements and a pretty significant camera upgrade.
So the leaks are suggesting 4 new colors, including a really cool-sounding deep cherry. The biggest upgrade, though, seems to be a variable aperture camera lens. The best way to think about it is like the pupil in your eye. It can literally open wider to let in way more light. That should give us much cleaner, brighter photos when you're in dark places. One thing to note, though, that crazy 200-megapixel zoom camera we've heard about looks like we'll have to wait until the iPhone 19 for that one.
But let's be honest, the device that everyone is holding their breath for is Apple's jump into a brand new category. Yes, the rumors are true, the iPhone Fold is still on the way.
And Apple, they're not just going to make a foldable phone. They're aiming for perfection. The goal is a display that is completely flat, with zero crease, and a design that feels more like an iPad mini when you open it up. But hitting that level of perfection might mean some trade-offs, like potential launch delays, or maybe even ditching MagSafe charging just to get everything to fit.
And while the iPhone Fold is dealing with design hurdles, it seems like some of Apple's other fan-favorite products are facing a whole different kind of problem. Yeah, we're hearing a lot about delays.
It looks like a global memory shortage is the big villain here. The M5 Mac Studio refresh pushed to October. That slick, redesigned MacBook Pro, now we're looking at early 2027. Even the beautiful new OLED iPads are on a staggered, delayed schedule. This is a major supply chain headache for the new leadership team right out of the gate.
But despite those production issues, let's just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. John Ternus is inheriting an absolute empire. The Apple ecosystem has literally never been stronger.
I mean, just look at this. In the all-important Chinese market, Apple saw a 20% year-over-year jump in shipments. That's enough to rocket them into second place. That kind of momentum is just incredible.
And here it is. This is Apple's superpower, customer loyalty. A recent survey found that a mind-boggling 96.4% of iPhone users are planning to just buy another iPhone. That loyalty is the rock-solid foundation of the entire Apple ecosystem.
And that ecosystem keeps on growing. Take CarPlay Ultra, the system that takes over your car's entire dashboard. It first showed up in a super expensive Aston Martin, but now it's coming to much more affordable cars from brands like Kia, Hyundai, and Genesis. That's putting the Apple experience in front of way more drivers.
And while it's expanding, Apple is also hitting some major environmental milestones. The company just announced that a record 30% of all the materials used in its products now come from recycled sources. That includes really important stuff like aluminum and cobalt.
Okay, so we've got the leadership change, the software updates, the future hardware, and the sheer strength of the ecosystem. It all boils down to one massive final question.
Is Apple about to enter a new golden age? That's a term for a period of incredible achievement and innovation. With a leader who comes from the world of product engineering now calling the shots, there's this real hope among fans that we're about to see a renewed push to create those truly magical, game-changing devices again.
And that's really the ultimate question, isn't it? The Tim Cook era was defined by operational mastery and unbelievable financial success. Will the John